Hi everybody, my name is Eileen Situ, and today I'll be showing you my final for the Intro to Asian American Studies. I titled it My New Understanding of My Culture. First, I'll be talking about my background and the vacation I went on that sparked this idea of my presentation. My ethnicity, I am a Cantonese Chinese, and my childhood, I was I grew up with two Chinese immigrant parents, and most of the time they would be speaking their native language, Cantonese, but at the same time they would be working most of the time. So as I grew up, I did have a very strong foundation for a very strong foundation of Cantonese. So I was mainly speaking English around the house, saying it to my parents, but eventually I would learn some basic conversations. And the vacation that started this presentation that I wanted to show you guys was I went to China for my 2025 summer, and it was around 3 weeks long. Um, what I did, we mainly stayed in my mom's childhood house, and we visited Beijing as well. But I mainly wanted to talk about where my mom grew up in this presentation. And I thought it was gonna be, I thought we were gonna be in a lot of tourist areas like um Shanghai shopping most of the time. That's what I thought. But yeah, so the vacation before going on the vacation, I was really excited because I thought we were gonna be exploring more of China, not staying in a very small city. That's what I thought. During, as I said, we were just staying in my mom's city. It was very small. It's called Kaiping, and most of our family was in it. And at the time, we were just staying at her, her like my uncle's and auntie's house. But eventually, we went on to go see other places. Yeah, and then after I had a lot of realization that being born in America was very had a way better opportunities for me, like going even like the simplest things about like food, going to school, or like, just like living. I saw how different it was from China. The differences I saw in the daily life. So family, they were very family oriented. Like most of the time, a lot of the family would be eating together, while in my family, we would always have different eating schedules. Like one person would eat during this time and another later on, like 2 hours later. So we wouldn't be eating together most of the time. And school, I had a cousin who she would go to school and I wouldn't see her for the rest of the day. Like she would be there for the whole 5 days, sleeping at school, eating at school, and environment. Mm, the environment, it was very like um humid there, but shopping districts inside China or the small city I was in, it would not be very crowded because I think the city that we were in mainly, it was a lot of older people. Unlike where I live, there's a lot of danger in the area, while in the city, it was very quiet, very peaceful. And even in the night, a lot of people would be running around. They would still be shopping. Yeah. And this leads me to the differences in the article I found, which is called Emotional Labor Across Cultures, a comparison of the Chinese versus Chinese and US service workers article. Um, a quote that I found from the article was that service with a smile displays rules and more distinct from broader cultural norms for the social interactions in the US than they are in the cultural norms in China. Um, from this quote that I found, this quote means that in the United States, service workers are expected to smile and act cheerful even when they don't feel that way, which is a bigger difference from the normal daily behavior than in China. In China, and the emotional exp ex in China, the emotional expectations for service workers are closer to the everyday social behaviors, so the emotional performance is not as extreme. It also so that we can see that the US has a more higher standards than in China, and in China it's more about keeping a strong face, having less emotion. And going on to the next slide, another thing I noticed is the education in China. As I said before, from personal experience, I had a cousin that would go for days to school and would not come back until the end of the week. The article that I found that can back it up is that Chinese culture in Hong Kong curriculum, heritage, and colonism article. And the quote I found was that the modern school curriculum requires a selection of materials from traditional learning for the syllabi of these subjects. However, Chinese culture was so broad and complex that materials could be found to support opinions of any side. Um, I, I chose this quote because it shows how intense the Chinese school system is and how much pressure they put on the kids there with how broad and complex the material is, um and has a very more higher standard because of um a test at the end of the year that basically tells their whole future if they pass or not. um and okay, so next I want to talk about my family's background, um because both my parents they did not have a high school graduate. So they both at the time they were just doing plain jobs, working the streets and trying to make a living for their family. Even at my mom's age, she was around like 13 selling food on the streets to support her family. She would give all the money to her parents. And once my dad immigrated to America first, my mom followed with my brother, and then I was born in America. But I have an article which is why are Chinese mothers more controlling than American mothers? My child is my report card. I didn't choose a quote for this because I wanted to summarize the whole thing instead of having one quote. My opinion, I think that Chinese mothers have a more strict are more strict on it because of the past, like because of what they've gone through and how many more opportunities there are in America than they are in China. Like my mom, she had to start growing up or she had to have a job. From my opinion, I feel like Chinese mothers have more pressure on their child to do better in school because of a lot of hardships they've gone through. Like for example, my mother, she she had to be working on the streets and she had less time to do studying while because I'm in America, I don't have to go through all those hardships and I should focus on studying so I can have the best possible future for myself. And next, it is also their mindset. My parents have made it very apparent that um hard work, hard work to them is mainly be due to the money. And and their mindset, I also feel like the model minority, which also goes back to them thinking about them having so much pressure on you to do good in school and to always be a hard worker. Um, well, the model minority is basically a stereotype that falsely portrays Asian Americans that they have to be inherently successful, hardworking, and academically superior to other minority groups. Um, I feel like the Asian Americans have been set up to have this mindset because of how hard they worked in their past country, and they also want to be working very hard here. Mm, it brings a false positive stereotype that tells you that all Asians should be strong, very smart, strong ethic, and it puts a lot of pressure on Asian Americans to to confine in modern this model minority. Uh, my conclusion to this is that I feel that my vacation that I went on was a big eye opener for me, and it showed that um in America we have a lot of privileges and should really take advantage of them. And seeing how the environment was and how the schooling was and why it's more likely for Asian American parents to have more pressure on children in school. And these are my sources.